그러다 이제 이 감지 빈바다 내와 탐지 초원이래 송송 어디 초원이지 somlatang del tang radu khache yang shado yo ro na ba rang nyam nong yang shado yo den ga da da dewa do ba da chama na de tu pa dewa do ko yo re de jote de joy tol yo ba ta mang she ke ha ko yo ma re sa kwa de de ke mi ni de dewa de rang joy jote de ba de ha ko yo ma re 내가 산지로 따와 제주 강매들 저거 좀 제르기 시켜봐 되게 배낭아라니 있나 저거 독주 탐벌로 독주래기 독주 탐바도 독주래기 받으니까 나 나요래 나네 매지 삼아 칼라미니 이 쏴두 나지니 제가 너무 야랑을 사거나 하장들이 다 진작하고 갈라 요요리디 다들 그람으로 어디 대상체보 사기 요래 이 깍더니 랑 내지제네 대양 고치 마사르지 이네 대양 제대로 뭐 소리지 말아니라더니 저거 하나 좋아하는 거네 내 강남이 sama kala disam jere yore nepa yamo so disam yore dere desa nepa jore de ye yore dere dere jeba dere cheri ka dere duchok jere kala chosam yore sangho seho uho lo jita de dere sama chimba te yore dere ngara ani de dawa chekeren dere sama disam de 쌍호, 세호, 우호, 르호, 타마시, 나찌보가 토요래지. 나와서는 깨요래. 가래에서는 다 레좀되는 거니, 다 적증이 레지. 이들이 몇만 대답을 가라면 돼 소소 요는 되면 자마탑들이 아껴서 가라잡도 사야 오면 다 되지. 하장들이 지금 슬로리들이 중앙집을 말이 슬로건 메시다. 난 중앙이다. 중앙사마야가 요래. 중앙이 자카트서 사제 독지. 슬로그들 메시 잘 동시 담대나니. 중앙야가 레지. 고도 중앙은 중앙은 자카선 가지고는 몇 돌하고 사야 독지. 슬로로 콘소 사마티 요말이지. 뒤치가 들어가게 몇 돌을 맞더니 사야 요말들이 몇 돌을 토고야 요말이. 들면만 보고 그 시리 요래지. 시는 대답들 되는 배는 저희 손들이 kiểm tra 다지 들이 내래 아저서 양아 작하는 갈아서니 자서 양데 갈아들이 이 다다 가서나들이 랑게 배사 맞게 갈아 나버린 가서 갈아도 그래 근데 소리는 사지를 주의해서 담보 사지를 내좀 되세요 그래지 내좀 되라 뛰네 배는 소소게 레티 시리티 레를 잡수면 들어가게 지야만 대사람이 줘사요 그래지 오 다다단 같이는 못 들라고 요지 같이는 못 들랑 다른 나다고 그랬네 무슨 뵙고 오면 뭐라도 잡요래 오 다참은 막에 말아요 되지 참 사제티 발 피소요 뭐람 나오면 다들 아무 똑같아 저 콩나 봐 뭐람 잡요래 옛날에 그것도 뭐람 잡요래 돈다고 이제 적 말이 콩나 특기 랑차들이 그거 일랑 저거 요리지 옛날에 대답은 들다가 쏘는 대신나 쏘는 사고 탑들이 탑만 가와미 봐대 이제 뒤에서 그 콩이 세체 탑 세체 탑이 돼서 빼내다가 롱까지 지서 쇼리 홀드 이제 무슨 선거 선물 가리 같이 통답 되어요 뭐 가 말이지 가리 필요도 사지 지수 좀 취지 좀 견주 지수 좀 썸 폴더로 참고요. 소신이 나하고 소소 좀 가는 소마 탄에 통만이 홀드 맥은 통통 홀드 폴닝 바지 저쪽에 소작 소리 터서 폴로 뛰는 거 맥주 소서 배대 아마라 토는 거 맥주 소 봐서 데이터를 티 용진지 되는 데이터 사람 좀 봐. 야 다다 그저 남자 세 꼴리는 장리들은 가 송아들이 사 족전 통초초래 가리 그 근육이 지서 뭔가 근육 말이지 오 근육이 실제 사계기 지서 좋아래 데르들 참인 그걸 쇼어래지 데르들 오 근육이 지서 제일 맞지 홀리 사계 포발해야 니는 통영아 근육이 사계를 가려라고 오 진짜 sab지 걸려요 그렇지 오 당아 르데라베 다체 중 라를 포르데다 좀 당에까지 심지나 식성 참아 삼성제대 고도 내가 당뭐 차치슈지 주바크들이 남바 사집에 개념바제 일 심지를 ninje메 바제 현동 뭐 차와래지 나한테도 너세경 뭐 차와래 대사람들이 사지 지스템마 주지스템마 근이 지스템마 호르도 찍고르티네들이 이제 있는 거 같아도 남도 제르티네들이 이렇게 까차감네들이 토마랑 그만 고정이 정대들이 배샤 매니아들이 생존을 때네 들이 배샤 때네 포르도 어떻게 때리 생네 이렇게 되는 말 파가니 이제 순간 제가 탐체들 저런 사지 이런 탐체가 들이 교신이 탐체 제가 때지 되는 무슨 되는 게 순간 제가 때 대다वर 그 공부시알리 송도 센세 제 탑인데 맞아서 밀려져 맞으나 그 제가 되지 되게 되게 특별히 제물로 송 세체 소주 파르나 탑지사발로는 매데 너는 이는 핀바랑을 대와 이는 핀바도 너는 대와 저거래 되는 오 소니래 정제 나 공부시에 말이 다다 돈로는 이변은 가시에게 실례고나 오 그렇지 얼게 로지 실례고는 대로 송노래 레야 실례고는 그렇지 얼게다 문에도 로탐제나 군다 스모 남주 장모도 사올로 되네 겁잘고도 대로 되게 지는 대토고 요래 매일 살아가는 그런 미쳐가 따지도 되네 매양 대토고 말아 매일 주고 나서 뭐 참도 대도 서대토고도 야 따대는 매일 돈로니 돈로를 당시에 대통령 문의지 전에 대공데 레버테레 돈지를 지나요 속차 망치 속차 가시를 들리게 매일하고 집에서요 아메리카 차다시면 탐지를 가리집에서요 야 혹시 살짝 가져서는 미쇼체는 대사요 말이 칼라 곰 라미가 사야요 말 내가 제고 오래 야 진짜 맞다 돈로니 돈로 주고 돼요 대 강을이 돈로 대 코너를 내그리 용을 다 쏘는 거 초로 되네 니 지원에 지와 체험이 서로 유지돼 니들 내좀 돼야 보시는 쏘는 거 초니래 좀 송나 들이 남이 또 보시라구나 사제 고마워 남이 또 보시라 대양 들이 또 삼바다 니게 때 삼바 체험할 때 다디드 셋 다디드 셋이 세면으로 또네 이 저도 장rom데 전에 뒤쳐용도 하고 그 배제도 초니들 다디체네 제 탐지 초니를 송하래 돼 내가 탐지 들이 뒤지니 다 뭐한다나 로봇 동네 미적 내가 탐지 용만에 오타 사제 때만은 네 내가 탐지 용 콩그레샤 되네 저도 삼모들 레지브가 삼모들은 다 사제 때만은 맨 생기를 내가 빠져요 말이지 이 하고 특별히 주로는 대고는 할지 뭐래 예를 들들이 초소나는 이나는 봐 뒤다다 빼놓고 별로 또 로드는 통로도 용나들라 랑게들이 봐요 나 통로를 했지 이 탐지가 제 핑으로 별로 초소데 다시 깔래마고 야고도다 이제 마치 못한 걸 말면 야 참내 대고 맞지 주매 야 살차고 만 잡고 매고 나가는 배대도 자기 마음을 줘도 쓰는데 룩하고도 차대요래 라미 대다오시나 라고를 통도요 배용까지 성도 대리들 소속이 안 간지 대선 군이 저래지 이게 심진 탐사를 피바도 대화도 저 덕터나 내가 랑나 페인도 랑 가가를 게도 적고 뭐는 말 피비게도 적고 요 말이지 대리들이 만나러 또 받아 라도 좋아하다 대해서 어제 밤저때 고소 로막 탐지를 로막 탐지를 진짜로 고소는 적고요 그래지 나 베이시 저들 같이 레가체니까 간 레가 라차삼이 얼마도 문의들 제 탐지를 피바도 대비 저들 mang por so na bu jo de juri jo to ko do sa na te ga na ta le ka le ta ma te ta ba de dong ka le o pi ba de wa ta de le cho ni le zong de cho ni so ma le te ha ko na te cho so ta o je ma na le so ma le je ba zong je ba chi bo ko le to ni che le je ba tong si kala po ka na ko cho le chu ba ji si to ma de to so cha le pi ni do so ma je si o 돈이 쳐라지 마서 니를 쳐는 게 정도로 니를 했잖아 다 담아서 담는 레벨 상마제죠 받을 마에서 개발 거서 가리 상마제죠 세는 개발 거지 뭐야 그렇게 봐요서 맛이 받을 개발 거들 다른 건 종종에서 그래서 무슨 게 가서로나 도쪽 진짜 매번 개발했어 뒤때는 되지 마 상다담도 받을 거는 나 개발 거 네가 찾으러 다 나게네 이래라서 받을 이제서 무슨 초선다 대다더네 상마지 벌선 지와처럼 보니 다리도 상마지 말고 하고 맛이 받아 이렇게 와서 따라 건데 라지 돈이 저랑 kop통통을 답되고 야 이제 뭐라면 또야 이 뒤때는 좀 대다다 니네 당연히라서 봐 데이터 세고 제소전에 이게한테 오게한테는 좀 된도 그 된거같이야 데이터를 이게 다들 뭐 필요 주지 하고 그래 망보세요 그래 초니래 좀 초니를 가르쳐 피바다 내비 좀지 타마 둘이 쏙 차지게 된 가라토 뭐 좀아서 가라토를 데코를 잡으면 타고요 말이지 데이터 사람한테는 되고 맞지나 데이터 다지나 도만데 셀시나 사는 김볼 뭐지 양자 선물이 대비하고도 티티를만 줘봤는데 이제 강마다 저도 로는더니 하자 사체 머리
So the previous one. So in the also page number 5 in the end we said so, arisen from the true accumulations, please accept this offering. So we have said that all benefit and happiness, all goodness in the world comes from these true accumulations. And so regarding that, Dharma friends, I want to just share my own personal experience about that, about how, especially the accumulation of merit now. And so now, first of all, everyone wants to be happy. We're all the same in that. But then most people, they don't know the cause of happiness, especially those who don't really believe in karma. They don't understand, they can't understand what is the actual cause of happiness. And that's really such a great quality of the Buddhist view. The most important quality of the Buddhist view is our trust in karma. So to give my own personal experience now. So when it was around 1961 or so at that time I was in prison, and at one point at that time I felt really ill, and there was no food to eat. And so that was a time when all the inmates there was basically no food, and people would even pick up like pieces from the ground or the toilet and then eat it. And so there was a little bit of food, but even that was rotten or had a bad smell and so on. And so I was getting very, very sick at that time. And it was at that time also due to Tara's blessing that there was an official who was very special and who liked me. And so at that time when I was really sick and my health was really deteriorating, I was in the infirmary, the hospital in the prison. And so normally the sick people, depending on the level of their sickness, would actually be given food in that hospital there. And so if the sickness was like lighter, the light sickness, not so bad, then the patients would be served 3 meals in a way, like 3 times a day they would get some food. So then if the sickness was a little bit more severe than that, then they would get food 4 times a day. And then those who were really severely ill would receive food 6 times a day. And so there were those 3 kind of portions, right? So there is 3 portions for the light one, and then 4 portions for the medium one, and then 6 portions for the very sick one. So those 3 portions, actually, I happened to receive all of them. So that is basically 13 portions of food a day. I got one for each. I got each of theirs, yeah. And so this is actually how I was fed in the hospital for an entire month, and then was healing from the illness. And so then, thinking about that, I was really reflecting, why is it that I am the one receiving all this food, and now everybody else in prison is really starving to death? There was a real famine in prison. And I really found that it is because of karma. I must have created that karma in a previous life, because nobody else had any food at all, but I had food. Like, why was that? Even when new people would come into the prison, and also some officials would say that actually, even though everybody was starving to death in prison, they would say that actually it's much worse outside. It's still better inside in the prison. And even outside, nobody would have any food. In prison, you would at least get something, and you wouldn't have to do anything for it. You would naturally, effortlessly, in a way, get something like 3 times a day, for example. But outside, even if you made an effort, they said nobody would have any food. And Tibetans and Chinese alike, everybody was dying of starvation outside. And so then I felt that this was really so strange, and here I am being fed so well for this month. Even though everybody else is dying from starvation. And actually after that, after I was healed from the illness, I was also appointed to be the cook in the kitchen. So as a cook, you always get to eat too. And also nowadays, after being released from prison, I was traveling around the world, and wherever I went, actually, even though I didn't ever pay for it or have any money, everybody would always feed me wherever I go. So that was like my karma. And whose kindness is that? First of all, it's the Buddha's kindness. It's because the Buddha taught karma. And karma is really what protected me. I must have really created that karma in a previous life. So now also due to that, for example, in this life, they call me Garchen Rinpoche. So actually this tulku, a tulku is really recognized as someone who appears as the result of an aspiration that has been made to appear in order to benefit the Buddha's teachings. It is the aspiration of the disciples and the Sangha. So then the Sangha appears, or the Nirmanakaya or the Tulku appears. And so regarding that, actually, we can call somebody like that a Tulku, because somebody who really cares for the benefit of others, who knows that point that we just previously mentioned about merit and karma, can be really said to be a Nirmanakaya or a Tulku. So someone who knows how to accumulate merit knows that there are many ways of accumulating merit. In the Vajrayana, it is that it is a method there are many methods to accumulate merit that does not require so much hardship. One can always accumulate merit. Or Thigden Sumgön had said, whatever you do can become an accumulation of merit. And so now also, speaking of Thigden Sumgön, since we are Drikung Kagyu followers, actually it is said that a Drikung Kagyu follower must have such a begging bowl. And so that is because actually Thigden Sumgön himself spoke about the benefits of having a begging bowl. And so the benefit is that when you have a begging bowl, then you remember the 3 jewels. You recollect the Buddha and the Dharma and the Sangha only by holding a begging bowl. And actually, when I was just released from prison, for the first time when I just came out, immediately I saw this bowl. It was quite an old bowl, and it had some mouse bites on it already. But I got that bowl, and when I saw my old bowl, I cried. Actually, that brought tears into my eyes. And actually, when I met my mother again, I did not cry. But when I saw that bowl, I did cry. So that's because I really remember, I recollect the qualities of the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha when I saw that bowl. Then the people, even at that time, we didn't have any money, and it was not made of the greatest quality. But basically, I got this bowl, and it meant a lot to me because it represents really the Sangha. So it reminds me I am the Sangha. And what does it mean I'm the Sangha? It means I am a follower of the Buddha, and everyone respects the Sangha. And so therefore I must live up to being a Sangha. So that is what the bowl all represents to me. So now, what does a Sangha really mean? When I remember that I'm a Sangha, it means that a Sangha must possess love and compassion for all sentient beings. So this is what I'm reminded of by holding this bowl. So then it reminds myself is that I remember that I'm wearing these robes and I'm holding this bowl, and this means I must have love and compassion for sentient beings. And that's really what the Sangha must possess. That's by any means, this is one thing that a Sangha certainly must possess. Because there is no greater shame than when a Sangha member, wearing the robes and having that bowl in their hands and so on, has no compassion for sentient beings. There is nothing more shameful. And in general, for a Dharma practitioner. So a Sangha, a follower of the Buddha, must by all means have compassion for sentient beings. There is nothing more shameful than not having compassion in this life and also for future lives. So this is what the bowl reminds me of, the kindness of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And so this is also what Thigten Sumgön had intended for us, that we all have this begging bowl. And there is also, again, much to be said about that. So, for example, even if you think that I don't have any money, it is made out of wood, and it can easily be made. And then if you have such a bowl, then it's like you remember I'm the Sangha, I'm making this offering by drinking, for instance, to the Buddhas. And so though as followers of the Buddha, and especially now of the Jigong Kagyo of Lord Thigten Sumgön, that's really significant. And so again, Thigten Sumgön said that everything you do must become an accumulation of merit. And also he said that then in this way, everything you do becomes spontaneously, naturally accomplished. And also Milarepa said that when, aside from practicing merit in whatever you do, there is no other perfection of method or skillful means than that. So that is the benefit of others and your own happiness. So basically, if you benefit others, it will lead to your own happiness. So these two accumulations have to do with karma. It arises from karma. For example, animals. When we look at the animals, it is actually said that some meditators who have meditated on shamatha, calm abiding, some of them actually take birth in the animal realm. And for example, those animals who hibernate in winter, who go underground and stay the whole winter underground when it's really freezing on the surface, they don't freeze, but they also don't move. They're in this hibernating calm state for the entire winter. And while at the same time, many others on the surface are freezing to death. So that is because they have this ability to stay still in this hibernating state for a very long time. And who can actually do that? Nobody else can actually do that. Everybody else on the surface would die from freezing. And so that is actually said to be a quality of shamatha, or calm abiding. And there are a few who are then born as this kind of animal, who then hibernate, have this ability to hibernate in winter. Or, for example, speaking of karma, there are some animals that are considered as even more valuable, or are given more care than even human beings. For example, especially in America, people like pets, like cats and dogs, and they treat them so well, even better than humans. Whereas in other places in the world, even human beings don't even have a place to stay, to sleep, or they have no food to eat, and they have to work all day long. And then here you have animals that experience greater well-being than many human beings. And so why is that? It is also because of karma. These animals have accumulated merit in previous lifetimes. And so in this way, if you understand karma, you understand that all benefit and happiness arises from these two accumulations. And then ultimately, once you have realized the relative, you realize the wisdom that realizes selflessness, and you attain enlightenment, which is the accumulation of wisdom. So first you cultivate love and compassion, immeasurable love, whereby self-grasping diminishes. And as a result, you realize the nature of the mind, which is just like an ice block melting. And then you understand the qualities of the water, that ice is actually water. So everything that you do can become an accumulation of merit. And this is the source of all benefit and happiness. And also in one other prayer it says, the Buddha's teachings are the only medicine for sentient beings, the only source of all benefit and happiness. And it's really true. The only source of benefit and happiness is the merit, really, that we accumulate. And that comes from the Buddha's teachings. And that comes from having a clear understanding of karma. If you think about it, if there would be no teachings of the Buddha, sentient beings really could not experience any happiness. So Dharma friends, that's a very important point in the 7 branches. And that's also why, for example, we are printing the liberation by seeing mantras on clothing and elsewhere. It is because for oneself, it supports my mindfulness, and also it benefits everyone who sees them. That's also a very easy way to accumulate merit. It doesn't require any difficulty. It doesn't mean you have to do grand things. For example, some people may think, I'm not rich, I don't have any money, I can't practice generosity. Or I don't have any time for retreat, I can't go into retreat. Or I can't sit in cross-legged posture in meditation because my knees hurt and so on. But actually, there are ways to accumulate merit without any difficulty. There's always a way to accumulate merit. For example, it is through spinning a small prayer wheel, or through these liberation by seeing mantras and so on. Now, especially as followers of Thigten Somgön, also we can use this begging bowl, which also is for the benefit of others and oneself. So actually, when we speak about benefiting others and oneself, your own benefit is not accomplished separate from the benefit of others. It's all accomplished simultaneously. As you benefit others, you're naturally benefiting yourself. And so knowing that is why I have encouraged disciples to create these wheels, and also liberation by seeing mantras and so on. And many of the disciples have sponsored their production. And I have encouraged them to do so because I understand that they will also receive the good results from that sponsorship and so on. So I'm thinking about karma and see that all of this brings great benefits to oneself and also others. So in this way, if you understand that, you will be able to engage in meritorious actions in the future from now on. And you know that all of these actions bring about the benefit and happiness of others. And it all benefit and happiness comes from the two accumulations. So if you understand that, you understand, for instance, Milarepa's words. And Milarepa also said that if you when you're hungry, then I'm making offerings, and I'm to sentient beings, or the 3 jewels, and I'm offering to sentient beings. And when I'm sleeping, I'm still practicing virtue in this way. So if you are always dedicating in this way, you're always, even when you sleep, you accumulate merit. So that actually comes from having the refuge in the 3 jewels, and then all the virtue we practice thereafter. So when you use these substances like the liberation by seeing and the wheel and so on, it supports yourself, it supports your mindfulness, and it benefits others. Then there is the prayer in the beginning of our prayer book by Thigten Sumgön that says, from now on until I attain enlightenment, I will practice virtue with body, speech, and mind. So also when you read that, you should think that means I must meditate until enlightenment. I must meditate and sustain mindfulness. And the second line says, from now and for as long as I live, I will practice virtue with body, speech, and mind. So that means, for instance, I'm going to spin a small prayer wheel for the rest of my life. And it applies to the various virtuous activities that you can practice continuously for the rest of your life. And then the third line says, from now until this time tomorrow, I will practice virtue with body, speech, and mind. So that refers to the short-term virtuous activities. For example, when you practice a Nyingne or Nyungne retreat, where you remain silent and take the vows for a day, and so forth. So these short-term vows. So this was Thigten Sumgön's method to accumulate merit in those 3 lines, from now until we attain enlightenment, until we die, and until tomorrow. Meaning that at all times there is a way to accumulate merit. So the first line again means I must always meditate. Then the second line means I must spin a prayer wheel, and I must engage in the benefit of others continuously. And then the third line means that I will practice the short-term virtues like taking vows, such as the Nyingne or the Nyungne, and so on. And then at the end of any virtuous practice, we dedicate those virtues for others. And all of you know already about the benefits of dedication. So that is how the 2 accumulations are the cause of all benefit and happiness. So, for example, even if you just give a little bit of food to an animal, that is an act of generosity. For example, an ant. You're feeding an animal, like an ant. Actually, if that animal wouldn't have the karma for being fed, then there would be no way that animal would receive any food. But it's because they have the karma that they show up and are being fed. So think about it in this way. And then this is just a brief outline on that, and then more on that also Khenpo Rinpoche will teach you. And also it would be very good to always recite the Serkhangma prayer when you're doing the Lama Chöpa practice.
그래서 그럼 초치바디 강의를 쓰면 희지지고 요리 진직돼서 보고 다소는 제나 제체 소남 초 맞게 재미 있어서 소남을 초대 강리 예나 sentin tam지 동의된 통에 제가 초아이고 희지를 제나 아디 소남을 초대래 내려더니 예나 편 sentin tam지 뭐는 야무리 뭐는 건 털애들이 안중앙아 그래도 잡아 뺀了 상속선배 중족되는 순구리 상속선배 진지를 소모 초타이지 차변yap다 싸워서 차변 등이디오 대가리 따뜻한 것은 이마 차고 가니 무슨 전대 여봐 뭐 좀마다 속차라서가 로바카게 쳤다니 매와 대도 저요리 대탐지 속차지 람지 지나 야, 대답지 처음에는 무서 니마저 처음에는 가리도. 자월 대석항바요 대답지 동해지 쌈는 쌈님이 잡아 초아치고 들이 삼신지 쳐고 째기 오래야. 대답지 초단체는 내가 가야 되거든. 대답지 처음에 동해지 초단체는 내가 때 쌈는 게니. 대답에 들이텔라 쌈노당나. 그래서 이제 초아 동해지 통을 동해지 지는 이제 오래. 대리들이 찌르찌르 쏘는 초도 생기게 동해지 통네. 대라 물레들이 삼히게 찌르찌르 동해지 새로 탑. 그래 뭐라면 될 쏘는 거 초성. 너는 찌르찌르 쏘는 초들. 현고만 대바지를 대쏘는 거 초래. 현고만 삼히게 찌르 대리. 초사고 탈로 내되는 가양 맞으는 때다. 때다 산초스면 좋은 정도 대낭지 simply 동해지 레디 당 동해지 송. 쌈 동해지 쌈로 땅. 배도 같이 먹는 쇼는 손나. 야, 판도와 보통지 쌈로 가래 요래. 야, 파열로서 자카로 마땅지 낭tam지 오땀을 렘고서 초아되어 가래 요래. 대라를 쌈로도 어때 탐지 딱 전주과 라서 버진 쇼는 초아 나무 탐지 동해 가래 요래. 잡을 동해 리리도 쌈로는 동해 때를 뛰는 니게도 길 따서는 거 초대. 대회를 들이들 산쪽서 좋은 정도 하던 것어때 삼행제 고니저들 아치 뭐 요래 소소라대 배가도 배대도 찔리지도 소남 소치고는 너는 삼시제 제고래 초아요 이제도 제고래 매카시 나 듣바 제좀 점을 나는 뭐지 듣바 가세요 나 셔를 제고래 어때 내가도 듣바 제좀데 나 셔를 제고 삼시제 듣바 충충을 해지 강하게 셔를 마시면 답을 셔도 그래서 직접 무슨 데도 같이 말해지 대회를 셔를 가르치고서 때를 셔 탑지 시바디 뒤쪽들이 들어왔어 말이 까발때 도로 두고 공부된 면들이 이제 막 사고 가야 하고 말이 샤지마들에 대해서 좋아하는 이제 막 사고를 적은 거래. 누가 같이 싸나 점들이 지대서 쳐요래. 누가 같이 치는 들들이 점들이 치매와 다놈들이 손도를 별 대회들이 순남 소상들이 이제 지대서 뭐 이렇게 손남서 맞지 재미있으세 니스면서 소리요. 저도 다음은 내 손아 니스메 발레. 맨스테는 나또 샤르는 정도 다들이 서마도 hinge를 끼었다. 때때다 요즘 뭐라다 사모탄 이마를 좀 잡아가다 뭐좀 소차 탐들 사모탄 이 마주부터 삼hinge 제를 때를 스타트다 잡아라서 봤다 사지 뭐람터 다 연구요. 대열래 싸져고 탐들 들이야 톡톡 용 말이 로박시를 좀 싸워니 잡았다는 용토고 말이 대열 사차 대작을 내래. 그냥 중대대 셔도 사모탄 레좀들이 시시티보다 총거리 레좀들이 시시티보다 차나 드리스는 거죠. 동의 수작 뇨도 요 말이지. 동의 뇨도 매일하게 저들이 좋아하게 하고 말이. 저들이 다들 사마다 미지게 종거데 하고는 저 세분한도 서로를 요 말이지. 세분은 다디지 종거도 다디지 좋다 삼이게 종토도 다 제 돈이 제 산지 좀 사지겠어나 저남한테 저래서 그래서 인식해서 제 취득해서 sempre 탐체다 做레좀제 做 하고 거래 대한망원들이 다다 따와 고아선 차나양 들이 곰바케 들이 담지지 셔거리 통고를 맞아 더들은 차고도 철해야 다 하고서는 차고도 철 땅이 하고서 사자시 하고서 똑같이 하고서라고 그래 돈 다디 실도 같은 doctrine 단지 말이 차차디요래. 답변도 말이 산이 동이 용 거요래. 오래. 자고 잡는 도래 대로 용 거래. 좀 제리 지게 좀 거래. 좀 제리 실에 들이라는 게 사바다 니지가 다니지. 이제는 그래서 쓰는 거 소시와데 설명하고 사 쏘치고 말했지. 난 생부들이 사바다 니지게 다지 정도 하고는 사바다 니지 르마 이 서고 사 탐지 다 쓰는 거 소리지 하고는 이스 넘버 소트에 레베시가 소소 just 넘버 소 사바다 이제 깨나 레베시가 소도 서 나지 매소나 이거 말이 샘 광랑 기타 사예래 돌로 혼자 로버트 메저 something 라게 나지 되시고 나지 식선들이 차로 쇼스를 잡도도 전혀 가까이면 됐다고 시게 되고 하잖아요. 소 강조치 다사바다 이제 소치 모르지 대외는 수염지 봐도 삼진절 고고래 때때랑 거 라도라고 때 시가 인주도 네 주도다 말. 네.
So what really is this accumulation of merit? It really means to cultivate compassion. So to accumulate merit, one must cultivate compassion. And so Jigten Sungön had said that, so first conceptually, one accumulates merit, and then non-conceptually, one accumulates wisdom, and ultimately they are a union, they become a union. So first, you must cultivate compassion in order to accumulate merit. And compassion arises when you see the suffering of others. It arises, first of all, when you see the suffering of others and a real feeling arises in you. And then from that arises compassion. And that's when you are accumulating merit. That's the accumulation of merit. And that is really what benefits others. It's this aspiration, this wish to benefit them, which is compassion. Also, this is explained in the Bodhisattvacharya Vatara. It explains the benefits of bodhicitta, or the kindness of bodhicitta. There is in the dedication that there is a prayer that says, "May all be liberated from the heat, the suffering of heat, and so forth." So when we think about on having no water, when we think about that, for example, there are some places that are deserted, that it's very hot. There's only the sun is shining all the time, and there is no water. And the animals in that area, they find no water at all. There are animals, and there are ants and so on, and insects, and they don't ever find any water. Now imagine the suffering one experiences if one never finds any water at all. So bring that suffering to mind. Like, how does it feel? How is it if you are deprived of water for just one single day? It will actually be unbearable. Nobody can easily handle that. But then there is those animals who don't find much water and who also don't have comfortable houses to stay at like we do, and so on. So when you think about their living situation, when you think about those animals and their suffering, then love and compassion arises for them. So you feel a feeling for them arises. And then also you bring to mind the happiness that they experience when they are given water. So if you already know now the suffering of how it is when you have no water, how happy are you when somebody gives you water, when you're so thirsty? And so think about it in this way, how much well-being, happiness you're giving to them when you're giving them water. And so in this way, love and compassion arises by first thinking about their suffering, being aware of their suffering, which generates a feeling, and out of compassion, the compassion becomes unbearable, and so you help them. So in this way, that's how you accumulate. That's the accumulation of merit. That's the skillful means of accumulating merit. So when it's directed toward the higher beings, like the three jewels, then this feeling of love becomes devotion, and we're making offerings. And when it is for sentient beings, then it becomes compassion. So then in this way, in whatever you do, you can accumulate merit. So also in relation to that, you should read the Bodhicharya Vatara. In the dedication prayer, it explains it goes through all of the different sufferings that the sentient beings experience, because we have to bring it to mind. That's why this prayer goes through it. Or for example, there is this one line that speaks about a traveler who's coming from afar. So now if you imagine somebody is boarding a ship to go somewhere, and then the person on the other shore are waiting for them to arrive. And imagine then like the ship sinks, or something happens, and they never arrive, and the person dies drowning. So how do the people feel that are awaiting that person? How much suffering do they experience, for example? So as you read through this prayer, think about each of the sufferings of sentient beings. And then compassion should arise within you. And when it arises, that actually is the accumulation of merit. So it's most important to understand that when we speak about accumulating merit, that we have to cultivate love and compassion. And for that, to read the dedication of the Bodhicharyavatara is extremely beneficial. It actually has helped me a lot too when you're reading through it. So when things go well, when beings are happy, you accumulate merit, and when they suffer, then you help them. So that is a skillful means. In whatever happens, you can accumulate merit. Actually, sometimes people come to me and they ask, how much negative karma, how much obscurations do I have? And then some people say, now, what am I going to do when I die? What will happen to me when I die? And so actually, just the fact that one wonders about that, one is concerned about what will I do when I die, actually is already a sign that one's negativity is smaller. Because people with heavier negativity in their mind, they don't even think about that. They don't think about what's going to happen when I die. They don't feel much about anything at all. They don't really are affected when they see people are suffering and so forth. So things just don't affect them at all. That's actually a sign that their negativity is stronger. It's similar to that. Someone who has much negativity, it's like they're wearing a very thick cloak. So when your cloak is very thick, like your clothing is very thick, then you don't really feel whether it's hot or cold outside. So basically, you don't really feel anything. You're not affected by anything. But then a person whose negativity is not so strong, then obscurations are lighter, is like being completely naked and not having any cloak that covers your skin. So being completely naked, your feeling is you're very sensitive, because everything you feel it directly touching your skin. The heat and the cold or something pricks your skin. So a person with less negativity has much stronger feelings and feels things. So and that's that person also will naturally trust in karma. So a person who is has more thicker obscurations or negativities, they remain more unaffected and in a way in a kind of a neutral, indifferent state. They don't really have any much feelings about things. And so that Thich Nhat had said that we have to develop this feeling of compassion. When things go well, then we benefit others. And through that, we realize, through altruism, we realize selflessness and then merge the accumulation of merit with wisdom by realizing non-duality. So when one realizes the view, when one understands the nature of the mind, the non-dual nature of the mind, then even if a thought or an emotion arises, one will not cling to that, but one will continue to do whatever is necessary to benefit others with love and compassion. And so again, for that, it's very beneficial. I encourage you to really reflect on this dedication in the Bodhicharyavatara. And you just really reflect on it. Just one single day, for example, you think about an ant or the various animals and how much suffering they experience. And when you really think about their suffering, then really, and when you are aware of it, an unbearable feeling of compassion arises. And so then the other parts of the prayer in the Bodhicharyavatara speaks about, may I become a cloud to cool others and so on. So all of these, the rain and the cloud and everything that benefits others arises as from an aspiration of the Buddhas. And everything that arises for example, when an animal encounters food, arises due to karma. If the karma is not present, then nothing, no water, no food can be obtained. Then, for example, there's certain animals who don't have the karma and they do not receive water. There are some where, for example, it doesn't rain and so on. So when you think about these very carefully, in great detail as you go through this prayer, a real trust will arise in your mind, a trust in karma. And when that happens, you really have created the cause for accumulating merit. And so nobody wants to experience suffering. And even though nobody wants that, nobody also knows how to avoid the causes of suffering. The cause of what purifies the cause of suffering is the cause of love and compassion. And people don't know that. So that is the only antidote. The only reason they suffer is self-grasping, and the only way to get rid of it is through love and compassion. And that is the point that people normally don't understand. So that is what we now understand. I can actually overcome self-grasping suffering if I only cultivate love and compassion. The Buddha himself had said, all phenomena arise from causes and conditions. So therefore, for sentient beings, what's most important is to understand the workings of karma. If they don't understand karma, then they will always experience suffering. For example, there is some who actually have a fairly good understanding of the view, the nature of the mind, and still often, even though they understand, but because they lack practice, the self-grasping actually sometimes is even worse after they have done the practice than it was before. So actually the point of knowing the view is to habituate it in order to eliminate self-grasping. But people don't habituate it, and in the end it seems their self, after much practice, which is based on more an intellectual understanding than real experience, then often the self becomes more inflated. And it's similar to basically knowing that ice is water. So they know that, but they, for example, they say, I know Mahamudra and I know Dzogchen and so on. But what happens to their self-grasping actually? Has that gone away? It is actually worse than it was before after they have done the practice. And then the problem with that is that they will again experience suffering, because they might know that ice is water, but because it's not melted, it's more like a rock, and it will cause them pain. So it's most important to understand and trust in karma. And that means, in brief, that it is only through love and compassion that self-grasping will diminish. And that is the accumulation of merit. So when it comes to accumulating merit, the activities of body and speech are secondary. What's most important is the mind, the merit in the mind, which is love and compassion. That's most important. And if you have love and compassion, then just naturally whatever you do with body, speech, and mind will become a merit. And if you accumulate true merit, it will result in the accumulation of wisdom, because then self-grasping will diminish. So the accumulation of merit results in the accumulation of wisdom. So ultimately, they unify into one. So in brief, when you eliminate self-grasping, then there is no more obscuration. And when there is no more obscuration, then the natural state of your mind as it is already is the Buddha. The Buddha had said sentient beings are only obscured by adventitious stains. And that is the self-grasping. That is what needs to be eliminated. That is the ice block that needs to melt. And when it melts, it merges indivisibly with the ocean water. And how can we melt it? It is through love and compassion. So you must understand that what we call merit is love and compassion. So, Dharma friends, this is what I just wanted to share with you from my own personal experience. So now, at the end, in dedication, we are going to recite the Shantideva dedication, the Bodhicharya Avatara, which is on page, what is it? 61 in our blue prayer book. So 61 in the blue prayer book. The dedication from Shantidevas, the way of the Bodhisattva. By all the virtue I have now amassed by composition of this book, which speaks of entry to the Bodhisattva way, may every being tread the path to Buddhahood. May beings everywhere who suffer torment in their minds and bodies have, by virtue of my merit, joy and happiness in boundless measure. As long as they may linger in samsara, may their present joy know no decline, and may they taste of unsurpassed beatitude in constant and unbroken continuity. Throughout the spheres and reaches of the world, in hellish states, wherever they may be, may beings fettered there, tormented, taste the bliss and peace of Sukhavati. May those caught in the freezing ice be warmed, and from the massing clouds of Bodhisattva's prayers, may torrents rain in boundless streams to cool those burning in infernal fires. May forests where the leaves are blades and swords become sweet groves and pleasant woodland glades, and may the trees of miracles appear, supplanting those upon the hill of Shalmali. And may the very pits of hell be sweet, with fragrant pools all perfumed with the scent of lotuses, be lovely with the cries of swan and goose, and waterfowl so pleasing to the ear. May fiery coals turn into heaps of jewels, the burning ground become a crystal floor, the crushing hills celestial abodes, adorned with offerings the dwelling place of Buddhas. May the hail of lava, fiery stones and weapons, henceforth become a rain of blossoms. May those whose hell it is to fight and wound be turned to lovers, offering their flowers. And those engulfed in fiery Vetarani, their flesh destroyed, their bones bleached white as Kunda flowers. May they, through all my merit strength, have godlike forms and sport with goddesses in Mandakini's peaceful streams. What fear is it, they'll ask, that grips the henchmen of the deadly Lord, the frightful vultures and the carrion crows? What noble strength is it that brings us joy and drives away our dreadful night? And looking skyward, they will see the shining form of Vajrapani. Then may their sins be quenched in joy, and may they go to him. And when they see the seething lava flood of hell, extinguished in a rain of blossom, drenched in scented water, at once fulfilled in bliss, they'll ask, how can this be? And thus the denizens of hell will see the one who holds the lotus. Friends, throw away your fears and quickly gather here, for who is it who comes to banish dread, this youth with bound-up gleaming hair, this loving Bodhisattva saving and protecting every being, whose power relieves all pain, increasing joy? Do you see the splendor of his house that echoes praises of 1,000 goddesses, the 100 gods who laid their diadems before his lotus feet, the rain of blossoms falling on his head, his eyes moist with compassion? Thus may those in hell cry out on seeing Manjughosha. And likewise, when through these my roots of virtue they see the joyful clouds let fall their cooling scented rain, their obscurations cleansed by bodhisattvas like Samantabhadra, may all those languishing in hell come now to perfect happiness. And may the stooping animals be freed from fear of being preyed upon each other's food. And may the famished spirits have such joy as those who dwell within the northern continent. And may they be replete and satisfied by streams of milk that pour from noble Lord Avalokita's hand, and bathing in it may they be refreshed and cooled. And may the blind receive their sight, and may the deaf begin to hear, and women near their time bring forth, like Maya Devi, free from any pain. And may the naked now be clothed, and all the hungry eat their fill. And may those parched with thirst receive pure waters and delicious strength. May the pure and destitute find wealth, the haggard and the careworn joy. May confidence relieve those in despair, and bring them steadfastness and every excellence. May every being ailing with disease be freed at once from every malady. May all the sickness that afflicts the living be instantly and permanently healed. May those who go in dread have no more fear. May captives be unchained and now set free. And may the weak receive their strength. May living beings help each other in kindness. For travelers upon the road, May travelers upon the road find happiness no matter where they go, and may they gain without the need of toil the goals on which they set their hearts. May those who put to sea on boat or ship attain the ports that they desire, and may they safely come to shore in sweet reunion with their kith and kin. May those who lose the way and stray in misery find fellow travelers, and safe from the threat of thieves and savage beasts, be tireless in their journey light. May children and the old, the weak, protectorless, bewildered in the wild and pathless wastes, and those whose minds are dulled, and all who are insane, have pure celestial beings as their guardians. May all attain the human state and be possessed of wisdom, faith, and love, with perfect livelihood and sustenance. May they have mindfulness throughout their lives. May everyone have unrestricted wealth, just like the treasury of space, enjoying it according to their wish, without a trace of harm or enmity. May beings destitute of splendor become magnificent and bright, and those worn down by toil and drudgery acquire great beauty and perfection. May all the women in this world attain the strength of masculinity, and may the lowly come to excellence, the proud and haughty lose their arrogance. And thus by all the merit I have gained, may every being, leaving none aside, abandon all their evil ways, embracing goodness now and evermore. From bodhicitta may they never separate, and constantly engage in bodhisattva deeds, and may they be accepted as disciples by the Buddhas, and turn aside from what is Mara's work. And may these beings, each and every one, enjoy an unsurpassed longevity, living always in contentment. May the very name of death be strange to them. On every side, in all the 10 directions, may groves of wish-fulfilling trees abound, resounding with the sweetness of the teachings spoken by the Buddhas and the Bodhisattva children. And may the earth be wholesome everywhere, free from boulders, cliffs, and chasms, flat and even like a level palm, and smooth like lapis lazuli. And from many circles of disciples, may multitudes of bodhisattvas rise in every land, adorning them with every excellence, from birdsong and the sighing of the trees, from shafts of light and from the sky itself. May living beings, each and every one, perceive the constant sound of Dharma. May they come into the presence of the Buddhas, and meet with bodhisattvas, offspring of the same. May clouds of offerings unbounded, may the teachers of the world be worshipped. With kindly spirits may kindly spirits bring the rains on time, for harvests to be rich and plentiful. May princes rule according to the truth, and may the world be blessed with all prosperity. May medicines be strong and full of virtue. May healing spells be chanted with success. May spirits of the air that feed on flesh be kind, their minds imbued with pity. And let no being ever suffer pain. Let them neither ail nor languish, never doing evil. May they have no fear, nor suffer insults, and may their minds be ever free from sorrow. In monasteries, temples, and the like, may reading and reciting widely flourish. May harmony prevail among the Sangha, and may its purpose be all fulfilled. May ordained monks intent upon the practice, find perfect places for retreat in solitude, abandon every vagrant thought, and meditate with trained and serviceable minds. May nuns have all their wants supplied, may quarreling, vindictiveness be strange to them. Let all who have embraced monastic life uphold a pure and unimpaired observance. May they feel regret when discipline is broken, and always may they strive to cleanse away their faults. May they thus obtain a fortunate rebirth, wherein to undertake unfailing discipline. May the wise and learned be revered, and always be sustained by offerings. With minds suffused with purity, may their renown spread far and wide. May beings never languish in the lower realms. May pain and hardship be unknown to them. Enjoy more than godlike strength and beauty. May Buddhahood for them be swiftly gained. Again and yet again may sentient beings make offerings to all the Buddhas, and with Buddha's unimagined bliss may they enjoy undimmed and constant happiness. May the bodhisattvas now fulfill their high intention for the sake of beings, and sentient beings likewise now receive the good the Buddhas have in store for them. And may the Arhats and Pratyeka Buddhas at length attain their perfect happiness. And may I also, through Manjushri's kindness, reach the ground of perfect joy, and throughout the stream of all my lives embrace monastic ordination. Thus may I abide, sustained by simple ordinary fare, and in every life obtain as well a dwelling place in perfect solitude. Whenever I desire to gaze on him or put to him the slightest question, may I behold the unobstructed vision of Manjughosha, my protector, to satisfy the needs of beings dwelling in the 10 directions to the margins of the sky. May I reflect in every deed the perfect exploits of Manjushri. And now, as long as space endures, as long as there are beings to be found, may I continue likewise to remain, to drive away the sorrows of the world. The pains and sorrows of all wandering beings, may they ripen wholly on myself, and may the virtuous company of bodhisattvas bring about the happiness of beings. May the doctrine, only remedy for suffering, the source of every bliss and happiness, be nurtured and upheld with reverence, and throughout a vast continuance of time endure. And now to Manjughosha I prostrate, whose kindness is the wellspring of my good intent, and to my virtuous friends I also bow, whose inspiration gave me strength to grow.
We'll do the long life prayers in the yellow prayer book. For this realm encircled by snow-covered mountains, you are the source of all benefit and happiness. Tenzin Gyatso, Lord Chenrezig, may you remain steadfast until the end of samsara. Now on page 23. Embodiment of the three jewels, great being who upholds and increases the teachings of the Shakya lion, supreme are your activities of guiding others with your perfect deeds. May you, the precious Guru who accomplishes everything spontaneously, live long. Holder of the teachings of the Lord Drigumpa, great Lord of the three jewels, through the power of your peerless compassion and the holy Dharma's peace and light, you bring relief to beings. May your life be long. The one known in the noble land as Arya Deva emanated into the Gar clan of eastern Tibet as Chodingpa, the heart son of Jigten Gompo. May the life of the glorious Garchen remain steadfast for 100 eons. Page 28. May the teachings of the great Drigungpa Ratna Shri, Master of Interdependence, Omniscient Lord of Dharma, who has seen all knowable things, be upheld until the end of cyclic existence through study, practice, hearing, contemplation, and meditation. Your 1,000 arms are the 1,000 wheel-turning kings. Your 1,000 eyes are the 1,000 Buddhas of this fortunate eon. Your love is boundless like space. I supplicate to the Bodhisattva Chenrezig. Thank you so much, Garchen Rinpoche, for your wonderful, profound teachings. And a reminder to everyone to please submit any questions you have about the teachings that Garchen Rinpoche has given on the Serkhangma prayer today or during the Mani retreat to registration at garchen.net. And please send them as soon as possible. And then tune in next Thursday when Khenpo Tenzin will do a Zoom class answering all of your questions. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Stay well.
Thank you. Oh.